Welcome to the Austin Downbeat. I'm Kat, your host. Please hop over to my Instagram channel at Austin Downbeat on Instagram to check out who is playing this week. And this episode, I bring you my friend Jan Flemming, accordion player extraordinaire, keys player, organ, piano. What doesn't he play really at this point? But accordion is his main instrument, and it is so beautiful the way that he does it. I discovered Jan first at an Ian Moore show, saw him playing those keys so beautifully, and then discovered that he also plays with my pal David Jimenez in the Last Jimenez. And I just, again, just continually wowed by this guy and had to grab him and convince him to come on the show. So I'm so happy he's on. Without further ado, here is the wonderful Jan Flemming. Jan Flemming, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Happy New Year. You are my
Happy New
very
Year.
first interview of 2024.
All right.
I know. How are you feeling for the new year? How do you typically handle New Year's? Are you like a resolution guy? What do you do for New Year's?
I'm excited for it. I was ready to leave 2023 behind and start fresh.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good feeling. What's your biggest lesson from 2023? Maybe it taught you, maybe you came to it naturally and softly, or was there kind of a big lesson for you last year?
Yeah. It was a year with lots of ups and downs, and I think be present is like the biggest thing I can take away from it. You
Hmm.
know, that relates to obviously music, and it relates to family and everything, and you
Yeah.
know.
Were you pretty busy? I know that I remember when we were first talking and scheduling, I know you had a really busy, that kind of hit you around a really busy time.
Yeah.
Do you tend to be pretty busy? Because I know you play with multiple people, and we'll talk about that, but is that kind of part of the reason?
Yeah, spring, fall is usually pretty busy, and then for whatever reason, this year the summer was very busy too. So it seemed like once we got going, we never stopped.
Yeah. Is
And
it is it also fun? Do you like being on the road? Do you like traveling?
I do,
Yeah.
I do. I enjoy it a lot. You know, for me, I think it's like a novel thing just because I'm not from here originally, so I always get to see parts that I haven't seen, and
Yeah.
you know, I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Let's talk a little bit about that because you are from one of my favorite countries. I spent a lot of time in Germany when I was younger. I had a little home base in Dusseldorf, but
Oh,
you are
cool.
from Cologne, Germany.
Yes.
And I know you moved here around 2012.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I was born in Düsseldorf, lived there for 5 days, and then over to the rivalry city of Cologne, which that's where I consider myself from.
Yes, but those first 5 days in Dusseldorf, I loved Germany so much. When I went to Europe for the very first time, I home based in Dusseldorf, but then I traveled around and I have some Italian in me. And back then hadn't done my heritage and my ancestry.
Mhm.
And there's a lot about one parent that I just don't know. And so I thought I was really, really Italian. Turns out I'm not as Italian as I thought I was, but I thought that Italy was going to be like my favorite place, that I was going to feel so at home.
Yeah.
And I actually felt more comfortable in Germany.
Interesting.
um I still have my original German book where I like
Mhm.
learned so much to kind of prep for that trip, but I just carried that everywhere. And my favorite thing was to go to the shops, on the corner and get
Yeah.
my breakfast for the day, get my little sandwiches, whatever. And the lady at the shop was so nice and would like help me speak, and she would, kind of teach me here and there. I felt so I felt such a warmth
Hmm.
from the people, which maybe because of the language, maybe they don't necessarily get that label.
Yeah.
of being
Yeah,
warm.
talking about stereotypes is funny, right?
I
Because
know it's kind of ridiculous, but I
yeah,
loved it so much. Talk
yeah.
a little bit about growing up and when you finally had an instrument in your hand. You are so ridiculously good at what you do.
Oh, thank
You
you.
are so fun to watch, and you are, as soon as I saw you play, first time I saw you play with Ian Moore, and I was like, who's that guy crushing it, playing like, I don't think people understand like what you do exactly, especially when you're
Uh,
playing an organ. You're like playing two instruments at the same time, basically, is what I think you're doing. But before I get too ahead of myself,
yeah.
talk about just kind of what was the first instrument that kind of landed in your hands, and obviously that was in Germany. Just talk a little bit about your path to here to this moment.
Yeah, so I grew up in Cologne, Germany, and started playing the accordion. That was my first instrument, and
Oh,
still is my main instrument. I would
I
consider
know.
myself an accordion player before anything else.
Love it.
When I was 7 years old,
Wow.
and it was really cool because my parents they had me in like an after school program where they would. It was just a general music program where they would show you different instruments every week, and I think it was once a week or something like that. And then after those 6 months were over, my parents asked me, they're like, well, did you like any instrument in particular and would want to learn it? And I remember exactly how it happened. I was walking down the street with my mom and she asked me that, and I didn't even think about it. And I just said, yeah, the accordion was really fun. And the
Mm,
next thing you know, they got me lessons. They rented an accordion for a while to see if I would stick with it, and I did. They got me my first accordion, which I'm still playing out to this day.
what?
Um, yeah, it's a tiny red one, but it just has a very specific sound. So, um,
That.
yeah, it's fun. And then I think like a big game changer was when I was 11 years old. I joined a band that was coached by a professional musician, Nick Nikitakis, who's like my musical mentor.
Mm,
And so I grew up um, playing with other kids. And that was really the game changer for me, where I was like, okay, this is what I want to do.
wow.
Like, playing accordion was fun already, but like playing with other people, that took it to the level of obsession, I would say. And having someone guide you
Yeah.
and always turn you on to new music and be like, oh, really, you like accordion? How about you check out some Zydeco music? What do you think
Yeah.
about that? And like it was just like, yeah, an incredible experience. And then I forgot. I think it was my mom's 50th birthday. She got like one of those electric pianos, like a Yamaha
Yeah.
something, um, because she wanted to learn how to play the piano. That was like a thing for her. Like, I'm turning 50, I want to learn how to play the piano, which is awesome. But of course, from the accordion, I knew the keyboard already. So I started just messing around with that. And yeah, then I kind of self-taught some piano here and there. And I had like a really big other life-changing event was when I did like a student exchange, and that was in 10th grade to Grange, Texas,
Wow.
my high school. And it was like the weirdest thing because Cologne has like a partner city thing going on with Grange
Oh, I didn't
out
know
of
that.
all the places, very random. And my English teacher had been there to the high school many times, so I ended up in Grange, Texas for I think it was 4 weeks um, in March of 2005.
Wow.
And I had an awesome exchange family, and I became best friends with my exchange partner. And he came to Germany many times after that. And I came to Texas in 2010 to just visit him. And at that point, he had left high school and moved to Austin. And
Wow.
then I saw Austin for the first time. And I was like, man, I think this is it. And then 2 years later, I moved.
Oh my gosh. I have the chills because I can just imagine, like, what did you think when you saw Austin? Do you remember kind of did you see music, or what were
I
some of the
saw
images
music,
that
yeah. I
grabbed
mean, I
you?
was underage still at that point. right? So it wasn't like that we would go out to all the clubs, but I remember just the feel of the city and like
Mhm.
driving down Congress and Lamar and just like seeing all these buildings. And one thing that people underestimate, like when you live in Europe, I think anywhere, you see American culture constantly on TV.
Mm.
That's what I'm sure now it's on the phones and whatever. When I grew up, it was on TV. You watch American movies, and you know, my dad liked westerns and all that kind of stuff. So growing up, you have this like romanticized image of what it would be like, and then I came here, and it was a lot like that.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
on first sight, I was just like, wow, this is exactly like those movies, and it was just so cool. I kind of fell in love with that whole thing, and yeah.
Yeah. Um, Talk a little bit about the, um, so you got here in 2012, and then did you do some schooling here?
Yes, I went to, so that was, tricky because I wanted to come here no matter what.
Hmm.
And the best way to do that is go to school,
Yeah.
right? Easiest way. And so I went to ACC,
Hmm.
the music program, which was awesome because I had great professors there um, that also taught at UT and Texas State. So I felt like I got the same or similar education, in a more private setting. And
Hmm.
I did that for 3 years, and then it's interesting when you are an international student or like someone from another country coming here. You have these like you go from one visa to the other and like just try to make it work and stay here. So I did that for a while, and then I met my wife. And
Yes.
yes, like in 2015, the next life-changing event happened, and met my wife, and then we got married in 2018, and since then I'm a permanent resident.
Oh, yay. Yay. That's awesome. Congratulations. That makes me
Thank you.
happy. You can kind of relax, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, how did you, because you are playing with, I think I mentioned like I first saw you with Ian Moore. And
Mhm.
like when I had Ian on the show, I was like nervous. I am a genuine fan of Ian's. Like
Yeah,
he to me is just as good as it gets, you know? So how, and then you're also playing with the Last Jimenez, David Jimenez, who I feel the same. Like, so I feel like the world is about to really understand the level of
yeah,
talent and
yeah,
kind of get to know him. Um, so good. So you seem to have mixed in with really this echelon of people. How did you do that? Did it take time for you to feel like how did you work your way in, or what was the
yeah.
first sort of tipping point for you to kind of get known around town?
That's actually really interesting because I think back on that a lot. So I playing the accordion. I went to ACC playing the accordion mainly, um, and I met my composition teacher was Russell Scanlon, great guitar player, who was in the world music scene in Austin a lot, great jazz player too. And I must have been there for 2 weeks, and he was like, "Hey, I have a friend of mine who plays in a Brazilian forró band. Do you like forró music?" And I was like, "I love forró music." Played that back in Germany. I was in a forró band. I had traveled to Brazil to learn the style of music. He's like, "Well, they're looking for an harmony and melody instrument. Would you be interested? Can I pass on your number?" And I was like, "Of course." So then Michael Longoria calls me the next day, who was that friend of his, and who is one of my best friends at this point in time. And yeah, we started playing together, which is just incredible because he's another one of those people. It's like doesn't get better than that
Yeah.
in this town or anywhere really.
Hmm.
And so for a lot of the first years, I was very active in the world music scene.
Hmm.
Started played with different bands and started my own band, Grupo Massa, that's dedicated to like Brazilian forró music.
Mhm.
only playing the accordion. And then at some point, I started playing more keyboards with like a Brazilian funk band. And like I said earlier, I grew up listening to Zydeco, loving, and then diving from there into blues. And like that's my very first love of music, really, blues music.
Mhm.
And um, then I met, through another friend, I met Willie Pipkin and
Mm.
um, went to the Evangeline Cafe gigs with Greg Izor, who was playing harmonica, and he always wanted me to sit in. So I sit in, and then, it's just like you start meeting people and you play a little bit here, play a little bit there. And then I met David through Willie because Willie has those Sunday night gigs at the Continental Club, and he
Mhm.
always has some friends there and puts
Mhm.
on a fun night. And yeah, that's how I met David, and we were playing on the same night, and he was like, "Oh wow, this is really cool." And yeah, with Ian, it was literally just fate. I don't know. I mean, I got the call. I think they tried a bunch of other guys before me, and no one could do it, So
Yeah.
it just worked out like that. But it took time,
Yeah.
you
As
know.
it does. And I think it's good that it takes time sometimes because then you're really carving, you know,
Yeah,
depth
I
and
agree.
width out. Yeah.
I
Because
very much agree.
you look so comfortable. I want to talk for a minute about the organ. When
Hmm.
I go, for anyone that hasn't seen the Last Jimenez and you guys play at the Continental Club, you guys do an early show, which I love an early
Yeah.
show. Fridays at 8:30 upstairs, the Continental Club Gallery. Um, and you play it is an organ, right? That thing
Yes,
that's
it's a
there.
Hammond B3 organ.
Yeah. Are you, because I was there with my friend Eric Betancourt, and he was like, he's playing like the bass line with one hand, and then you're playing like just regular keys, like harmony
Yeah.
line with the other
Yeah.
hand. What's
So
happening back there?
yeah, so
Craziness.
I think you came on one of those nights where we didn't have a bass player,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
in that case, what I do is I bring a bass synthesizer. You can play the bass on the organ too with the pedals in the left hand, but just to enforce a little bit more oomph, I bring bring my synth to do that. And that's when I play the left hand bass lines and then play the organ with my right hand. Usually we do have a bass player and I just get to play the organ and keyboards and,
Yeah.
whatever.
And
Sometimes
you
with
do so amazing at that just
oh,
alone. But
thank you.
yeah, I guess it was just that night where I was like, I'm already, when I go to that show, and I've seen you guys play a lot, I am always left speechless with the way that you guys sound. You're just one of my favorite acts.
Thank
I
you.
just am consistently blown away. And so yeah, and I was just like, I wish they would turn that organ a little bit so we could see what
Yeah.
you're doing back there, because it really is a beautiful and very interesting. You don't get to see it a lot out on
Right.
stage.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
we're very fortunate here in Austin to have organs in various clubs, and that's thanks to Red Young and Mike Flanagan,
Yeah,
who, donated their organs to the clubs. And
they're
uh,
organ donors.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's another one of those things, In Germany, I got into organ music really through Booker T, like Green Onions, that record. I listened to it so many times. Then through him, I found out about Billy Preston, and he very quickly became my favorite organ player. And then, sitting in Germany, then you look up these things, and I remember finding them on eBay, and they're like, "Oh wow, they're $15,000 here," and or
Hmm.
euros. And I was like, I had never seen one in person,
Yeah.
and then I went to ACC and started taking lessons with Bucker Allen.
Hmm.
And, it was interesting because he taught me piano. Then I would show him some things on the accordion because he was very interested in that too. And then one day I asked him about Hammond organ, if he had one or ever seen one or whatever, And he's like, "Oh yeah, I have one in the studio. Next week we should just go over there and check it out." So then I got came face to face with one of those beasts for the first time, really, and he showed me how to turn it on, which is, the first step and uh, the first barrier. But yeah, it was just it was very, very awesome that he showed me how to maneuver one of those things, and then since then I've bought one myself, and you know
Wow.
gotten into it. But yeah, it's a true American instrument. That's so cool about it too. It's like,
Mhm.
designed and made here in the
Yeah.
US.
Yeah.
Um, a very American sound.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now, the accordion, I do have a question. So I love the accordion and you play it so beautifully. I feel like it's an instrument that can be really intense if you want it to be intense. And so to watch you play it accompanying like last I think last time I saw you and David, it was just him with his electric guitar and you were just
Yeah,
next to him with your accordion and you play it so beautifully where it just accompanies so well and it is its own thing, but the way that you guys blend together and accompany each other is so I just don't get to see that very often because you
thank
don't
you.
get to see an accordion.
Yeah.
I understand the keys part, but what are the buttons for? Like what do they do?
Bass notes and chords
Okay.
to accompany what you do with the right hand. So, traditionally speaking, you would play a melody in the right hand and then play the bass and the chords in the left hand to, accompany yourself.
Yeah.
And so when I play with different people, you will see me sometimes play the buttons more, sometimes I play them less, depending on what else is already going on in the music.
Yeah.
Um, with David, it's interesting because with him it's just we've been playing so much together for quite a long time now that it's like, yeah, it's almost, I don't even have to look at him anymore. It's like
Yeah.
there's a lot of trust. I
Yeah.
know I don't have to like, I don't have to be protected. He got my back.
Hmm.
It's really cool.
So
And
beautiful.
I think sometimes you can hear that when people have that connection where it's like, oh wow, yeah, they are really flowing together.
Yeah. I mean, when I watch you guys, and I know sometimes you have different drummers sit in and you'll have a different bass player sit in, but even in those cases where it's maybe someone different, maybe the two of you as the consistent people in that band really are so in sync that you set this really beautiful tone for everyone where it just feels so loose but so grounded and it's just
Hmm.
so groovy and you just want to move and I love it, love it, love it. One of my
Thank
favorite
you. And
favorite
it's easy to do with David, I have to say. I mean,
yeah,
he's just fantastic.
he's so great. I love him. um what else is going on? So what do you typically, so you're in, how many bands are you actively playing in right
So
now?
right now, I still have my two own bands, Grupo Massa, the Brazilian band,
Mhm.
and then Doppel, which is a project that I have with Michael Longoria.
Okay.
And it started out as a duo, where we would use loop pedals, um, to loop synth, electric piano, and accordion while
Mhm.
he's drumming. And
Wow.
he would have a loop pedal with all my stuff in it, and I would have one, and we would like, build massive constructs, and yeah, it's pretty crazy life. Since then we've kind of decided to add a bass player to the mix to just make it a little bit easier on ourselves. But yeah, that that is really a fun project because we treat it as like, let's pretend we are 18 years old again and we're in a garage and anything goes.
I love
You
that.
know, we don't care about music styles or whatever. If this has to make sense, we do what just feels right.
Mm, that.
And yeah, I have two albums out with Doppel, and we, still play around town. We have a third one that we're about to record this year, and um, then I play obviously with David, with Ian, and
Mhm,
then with Caroline Hale, who is
mhm.
like a new singer-songwriter on the scene. She's awesome, has a
Awesome.
great band together. Um, and then, whoever calls, really, and I hope people keep calling. It's just, I love that, playing with different people, always kind of learning new material and feeling different vibes of people, and it's cool.
Yeah. You make it look so easy. I love it when you have your black sunglasses on and you're just sitting back there cool as a cucumber, I mean, handling it all, making it look so easy. I love that. And I'm sure people will continue to call. You're so, so good at what you do.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. How do you structure your day? Do you have, I talk to obviously all musicians
Yeah.
and a lot of full-time musicians. Um, do you find yourself with like what's your personality? Do you really find that you kind of have to have that structure or have a couple anchors to tether to
Yeah, yeah.
in a day or
Oh,
week?
one band I forgot to mention, the Pearlsnap Playboys, a country band,
Oh,
dedicated to honky tonk. I was just going in my mind. I was like, who else is there? I know there's more people than just, yeah. So yeah, it's like once I start thinking, it's a lot of people. But yeah, so it's an interesting point because we play late a lot of the times, but I
yes.
really like mornings too.
Yeah.
So, and during the pandemic, when everything started shutting down, my wife was like, man, you started teaching already. Don't you want to ramp that up a little bit? I think it would be good for you to just do something. And
Mhm.
so I listened to her as I should. And,
Good man.
you know, and I started building up my student base, and I really have become to enjoy teaching. So
Mm,
that's what I do 2 days a week, private lessons, a lot of them just like this on Zoom. And
nice.
yeah, then studio work, whenever it comes. And that's another part of being a musician that I extremely enjoy. I think
Mm,
studio work is a lot of times very underestimated and underappreciated. I think
mm,
it's one of the most satisfying musical experiences. You walk
mm,
into a room with people, and you all have the same mission of just make something beautiful, or rocking or whatever, and
yeah.
everyone is kind of sets this positive intention. And
Mhm.
then at the end of the day, I mean, I don't think I've ever, maybe once or twice, that you leave and you're just like, oh god, I don't ever want to do that again. But like usually it's good, right? Usually you leave and you're like, wow, this is awesome. I can't wait to hear that again. So
Yeah.
I think recording is, I like it a lot. And
Yeah.
then obviously playing live.
Yeah. Do you get nervous when you play live or recording?
Recording, not so much anymore, just because technology is so awesome, and you get a second go
Yeah.
usually. But live occasionally depends on the situation. I don't, I don't, I don't call it nervous anymore. I call it excited.
Hmm.
Either,
Butterflies?
yeah. I mean, there are a lot of times where I'm just like really stoked to play,
Yeah.
and I think when I was younger, that might have been nervousness. But yeah, at this point I feel like I'm just getting excited.
Yeah. Do you ever want that to go away? Or you like that it?
No, I think I mean, and I hype myself up. I'm like one of those people that's like waking up in the morning and I'm like, oh yeah, cool, tonight's the gallery gig, or whatever. And like all that, that's like the thing of the day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't really foresee that ever going away. I hope not.
Good. Yeah. I would hope not because I like it when the people that we go to see are excited about being there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say at the Continental Club gallery upstairs, that show, it's a real small space and you guys do such a great job of really filling that room and creating such a fun vibe. So I just want to remind people to go see those shows. I think it's every Friday, but sometimes you guys play down. So it's good to check.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. The next one will be on the 12th this
Yeah.
month.
Oh, perfect. So we'll make sure to mention that ahead of time. Um, What else do you have going on? Do you have any non-musical? You're so talented musically. Do you have any non-musical talents?
uh, I don't know if it's a talent, but I grew up playing table tennis, ping pong. So it was also, it's funny because I was really into it as like a young teenager and kind of had to make the decision, like, is it going to be music or is it going to be ping pong? Because, like we would have band rehearsals Saturdays because everyone would be out of school. And then that's when the ping pong games on the weekends would be, right? We'd have to drive to a different city to play. So I
Oh,
decided for music, which I'm very happy about. I did. But during the pandemic, I was so bored. I started watching YouTube videos of like, ping pong tournaments and like
mhm.
got really into it. And then as soon as things opened up, I found a ping pong club here in Austin and I started playing again, which
Oh,
was awesome.
nice. I didn't know. I have a ping pong table downstairs in my garage as we speak. I'm a big fan of ping pong.
Oh
We
yeah,
might
there's
have to
like,
have a little battle someday.
yeah, yeah. We can do that at the gallery upstairs. They have a little
They do?
that upstairs room there. Yeah,
Oh, in the back.
yeah, exactly.
So because you play with both, I use both hands. I'm ambidextrous for a lot of things.
Mhm.
Do you play ping pong with both hands?
No, no, I'm totally right-handed.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah,
'Cause I use both.
really.
I'll throw my thing to my left hand and like I do that in
That's
tennis
that's that's a
too.
pro move. That's hard to do.
I
You
don't
don't
want
have
to
the
like,
coordination
I
to
don't
do
want
that.
to hype myself up, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
that, you better watch out because I feel like we're gonna have a little, we'll have to video it and put it out there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna downplay. You'll probably beat me. I'm
I
sure
don't know.
you're
I
better
don't know
than
about
me.
that. Now I'm intimidated.
Do you have a ping pong table at home?
I don't. I just got for Christmas, I got a net that we put on our dining table here.
Yes.
So now my wife and I are battling on the dining table. Um,
That's a good place to start. I love
yeah,
it. I love
definitely.
it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You are a blast. And it's so nice to finally get to talk to you in a quiet setting. Every time I see you, we're in a really loud spot and I
Yes.
want to have a conversation. So it's so nice to have it in a nice quiet setting.
Yeah, this was lovely. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's nice to get to know you, that cool guy sitting back behind the piano or the organ. I love it. Well, I'm so glad that you chose music, and I'm so glad that you chose Austin. And it's a better place just to have you in it. So keep doing what you're doing.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, we're going to say goodbye to Jan for now, but this does it for this episode of the Austin Downbeat. Thanks to Jan for joining, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.